The views and opinions expressed here on Wrestling Winedown are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. What's up, guys? It's Lo, and you are tuned in to Wrestling Winedown, a female-founded and hosted podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and our favorite adult beverage. Baddies, welcome to a new era of Wrestling Winedown. If you are tapping in with us on your favorite streaming platform, you might notice that our cover art is new. Triple H is always announcing a new era, so why can't we? And of course, for this new era, you know I had to come correct. I am so honored to be joined by McKenzie Mitchell, who is the current TNA Ring Announcer. She is also the owner of Headline by MM, and she has added a new title to her list of accomplishments as an author. McKenzie wrote The Threads of Triumph, Professional Wrestling's Most Iconic Looks, which is available for pre-order now. McKenzie is sharing her history in pro wrestling, including starting with TNA right out of college, going to WWE, and eventually returning to TNA in a new capacity as ring announcer. We're also chatting about McKenzie's career as an entrepreneur. McKenzie owns the Nashville-based company Headline by MM. We are talking about how it was to start her own business, build on her family's jewelry legacy, and some of the superstars and friends that wear her pieces on a weekly basis. And finally, we are talking all things Threads of Triumph. McKenzie's book is focused on wrestling and fashion, and I know, baddies, this is right up our alley. McKenzie is giving us a sneak peek inside of the book and what we can look forward to when we purchase our own. So grab your favorite glass of bubbly. We're going in for the 3 count. We are back with another episode of Wrestling Winedown, and I'm joined by a very familiar face. You've seen her in TNA. You've seen her in WWE. You might have also seen her entrepreneurship. She is a jewelry owner as well as a new author. She has a book coming out in April, and I am so excited to have her here. McKenzie Mitchell, welcome to Wrestling Winedown.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Let's talk about some of your entrepreneurship so far. We know that you've had a history in wrestling, which of course we're going to get into, but you have really paved the way outside of the ring as well. You have a book coming out, you have a jewelry line. I have to ask, how do you manage it all?
Girl, I wish I had the answer to that one. I am tired. I am busy. I am tired. I am not sleeping as much as I should be. That is the easiest and most real answer I can give you. It is a nonstop world, but I think as long as I have my to-do lists of the day and I prioritize what's most important, that's really what I'm getting to work at hand on an everyday basis, on a daily basis, if you will. So it's been a lot to juggle. This past year has been a doing year, I always say. Like 2023 was one of my worst years, being released from the WWE and kind of having to pivot in this career path. But 2024 was where everything happened. All the magic was made to prepare me for 2025. So it's been like 2025 has just been really fun. It's been a lot of work, but it's been really cool to see all these pieces come together.
I know we're officially in 2026, but I would be absolutely remiss if I did not ask you about some of the fashions that we saw in 2025. I know it's a hard one, but can you choose one woman and one male superstar who you feel like absolutely understood the assignment when it came to the fashion game?
Yes, it's very hard. I mean, that's a lot of my book, which we'll get in and talk about, is I have over 50 wrestlers that we're featuring because there's so many unique looks in professional wrestling and so many stories to be told. And everyone's so individual, which is the beauty of all of this and why I really created my book. But I would have to say for 2025, for the men, I would have to hand it to Seth Rollins. I'm a little biased because he has worn my jewelry since WrestleMania this past year. And it's became really an identity piece of all of his gear every time he steps out into the ring. He always brings new and cool, different looks to the table. You have to give credit for King Troy, his stylist, who's putting these looks together, and Sarat, which is his seamster as well, that's making these awesome pieces of tights and gear and these pieces that go together that all just kind of create this seamless look. So he's got a team behind him and he knows what he's doing and he knows what it takes to really put that look together to become this superstar. When it comes to the women, I think so many of the women have such eye-catching looks. You have to stand out on television. Like, that is the job. A lot of it is, how are you telling these stories and connecting to fans? But I would have to say recently, I've really loved Charlotte Flair's looks. I think she does a nice job of putting things together that are just different. They're unique. She kind of reinvents the wheel every time with the way the gear is shaped on her body. And she flatters herself every time she puts on a new set of gear. So I would have to say Seth for the men and Charlotte for the women.
Very good choices. I recently have really been paying attention to Charlotte's, her outside of the ring style as well as her inside the ring. She just knows how to dress. She knows how to really put the pieces together.
I totally agree. I think she understands the aspect of what you are on social media and how you're showing up on social media as well. So you've seen her content elevate. I know she's working with a couple people as well on the backside to create this team. So maybe there's something to be said in having a team behind you when it comes to presentation. But I'm with you. I've seen from even the outside, her gear outside of the ring, her streetwear, her just daily life, she's presenting herself as a superstar, as a larger than life star, and you're connecting to it.
Absolutely. Let's take it all the way back. How did you first get into professional wrestling?
Well, I've talked about it before. I never really imagined my life in professional wrestling. I was a broadcast major at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, where for 4 years I was there on camera MC in all the baseball, basketball, football games. So I got really unique, really one-of-a-kind experience with the university before I got my degree. So I was working while also going to school, but really that was carving out my future career path. Once I graduated from Ole Miss, I spoke to my athletic director at the time, and I wanted to move to Nashville and work in sports, entertainment, or music, but I didn't really know what that meant for my career. I landed an opportunity with a interview with Dixie Carter at the time. She was the TNA president. We sat down. They actually wanted me to start. I think our interview was maybe in February, and I didn't graduate until May. They wanted me to start in February. And I'm like, hold on, let's pump the brakes. Let me graduate. Let me move my life over to Nashville, and then we'll just hit the ground running. So I was really lucky that right out of school, I landed a broadcast career. Did I ever expect it was going to be professional wrestling? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I was like, this is a really cool venture for me and something I can really sink into. So started my job in 2016, May 2016 with TNA right out the gates out of college, and then just really did my homework. I knew nothing about professional wrestling. I would do my own little notes. I would go online and research like, who is Drew Galloway? And then write down like, oh, he's a Scottish warrior and he hates this person. Like I would create my own notes to make it all make sense to me. And I laugh about it now. My first live interview was with Jeff Hardy. I had no business of doing a live interview with Jeff Hardy on a Facebook Live for 30 minutes. Like, what in the world? How do you get there? And also, what do you ask Jeff Hardy at that time, not knowing anything about the industry? So I really learned on the job, if you will. And I'm really thankful for those experiences as well.
Do you go back and watch some of your old interviews, or are you like, you know what, just tuck that away? Just
Absolutely not. I see some in my let's say 2018 days. Chelsea Green and I had some really cool dynamics backstage at TNA, like when she was the hot mess. And a lot of people know this. Obviously, it's no secret that Chelsea and I have been friends for years. So I go back and I still get tagged in so many TNA backstage interviews and segments that I've done. So that's fun to walk down memory lane. But the original interviews, no way. I'm like, we'll put those up. Maybe they went live and then they never really showed up anywhere else and they just kind of disappeared. I don't know, but it's a good learning experience for sure.
Can you talk to me a bit about the transition from going from a full-time college student to going directly to TNA Wrestling? How was that for you? Was there a learning curve? And did you find that it was a lot of learning on the spot while you were there?
So I started my career as a backstage correspondent, and that's really where I think my bread and butter lies in my career. I was already doing interviews for the University of Mississippi, and so I was able to kind of take some of that experience that I'd learned of just basics 101 and plug that into professional wrestling. It's all about connection to me. When you're interviewing people, to me, I always say it's about listening and listening to what your guest has to say and being able to adapt on the fly and listen to what really the story that they're wanting to tell. So a lot of those pieces were different in a way, but also kind of the same as I was starting my career in professional wrestling. But it takes skill. It takes time. There's a way to do a backstage interview in professional wrestling. You see it on Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT, TNA, the list goes on, of just kind of the routine, if you will. Hello, welcoming the guest, bringing them on, doing the interview, and then saying goodbye. So I think that was something that I figured out on my own, and how I conducted an interview was going to be different than Renee Young, Renee Paquette at the time, Kayla Braxton, Charlie Arnold, like all these different people that were backstage correspondents. The way that they would conduct an interview is totally different than the way that I would conduct an interview. So it was just a lot of trying things out and seeing what worked and being able to feel that energy. And also you create dynamics with people as well. Like some of my favorite interviews are with The Way, the Gargano family. Javier Bernal and I have one, like had this back and forth that was pretty cool. Toxic Attraction at the time, which was Mandy Rose, JC Jane, Gigi Dolan. Like we have these moments that essentially now live on forever, but you create these moments and the compatibility with specific talent, which is really just kind of experience and getting to get your feet wet and get in there and see how it works for you.
You made your debut in TNA as a backstage correspondent almost 10 years ago, and you recently returned to the company this year. What has changed in TNA back then in 2016 versus now? And why did you decide to return to your roots?
You know, I think there's something to be said about a homecoming, and it was a different way of coming back to TNA. I would never really tried my luck at ring announcing. I had maybe a one-off, I think one time where I did a ring announcement for the main event for Pentagon and Phoenix. I don't even remember what that tag team match was, but it was like, let's just throw her in and see if she can do it. And I did it fine, but that was never really my skill. And so getting to go to WWE, having the experience as a backstage interviewer, learning so much, learning on the fly, being able to host in all capacities and being a host and a ring announcer for the WWE live events. A lot of people didn't know I was a ring announcer as well. So I got to get those experiences interviewing and ring announcing the likes of like Rey Mysterio, Cody Rhodes, Sheamus, like Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, all these people on Raw and SmackDown in these WWE live events, these house shows. So then when the opportunity presented itself for January of this past year, I'm like, I would love to take a stab at it and just try and see what I can do and really just put myself in a different category as a broadcaster, but this time a ring announcer, something that the TNA fans weren't familiar with the first time that I went in TNA, a completely different refresh, if you will, and a building block on my career.
As you mentioned, you were in WWE. You were Jane of all trades, host, announcer, backstage correspondent on NXT, but also, like you mentioned, at the live events. How was this experience, and what are some of your favorite memories that you still hold close to you?
I'm very thankful for my experience in WWE. It was fantastic. I think I say this outright, NXT is a family to me. Even the partnership with WWE and TNA now, getting to have some of those WWE talent come back into our TNA house, and then vice versa, me going back into NXT. I got the opportunity to ring announce a couple weeks ago at the show between TNA and WWE. And that's cool. Like, it's always fun to get to revisit. And I'm still friends with these people. We've created these relationships and these bonds. So that's really awesome to me. I loved my time at WWE. I had such a great experience. I learned so much. More than anything, I learned how to work on the fly. I think that that's something that's super incredibly important in anybody's broadcasting career, is how to take the pieces, figure it out, and maybe not totally have a script, but be able just to work off of each other and listen to your guest or whomever it is, your co-hosts, and just be able to kind of figure it out and be live. Being in a live environment is something that's so unique and so special for television in itself. So I'm very thankful for my time. Some of my favorite memories had to probably be, I mentioned my interviews and the dynamic that I created with Javier Bernal, even with Grayson Waller. Like, I remember Grayson is Australian. Obviously, we know that. And Australians have this fun, like, banter and dynamic back and forth. Like, they're very direct and they're very sarcastic. And a lot of Americans don't understand their humor. It's almost like a dry sense of humor. And I remember Grayson said to me one time, he was like, I just love doing interviews with you because we can banter and we go back and forth and it's no hard feelings. It's just like sticking it to each other. And that is some of the things and some of the moments that you saw of doing backstage interviews with Grayson Waller. The writers team gave us the freedom and flexibility to play off of each other and have fun with it and see what came to life. So many of the moments, yes, we have an idea of what we're saying and what we're accomplishing as backstage interviewers and what we want to get across, but it was also the freedom and the flexibility that my own personality got to show through in so many of my interviews that people still recount today.
And I think that's why so many fans gravitate towards the backstage announcers, because they can see their personalities through these interviews that they're doing with the wrestlers.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I think that, I mentioned it, everybody's going to be different. There's no really key to success in being a backstage interviewer in professional wrestling. It's just kind of like you either have it or you don't. And you just kind of have to figure out what your style is. Everybody's style is going to be different. There's no copy and paste type schedule or routine or the way that you're supposed to do it. It's just you have to figure it out. And if fans gravitate to it or an audience gravitates to you, that's also something super special.
You mentioned it a little bit, but as we know, WWE and TNA are currently in a partnership. So we're seeing both rosters kind of mix and mingle on the separate shows, on the pay-per-views, things like that. Is this something you ever imagined happening as someone who started in TNA, who went to WWE and is now in TNA again?
Never. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When I was back at TNA in the very beginning days of my career, it was always my dream as well to get to WWE in some capacity. And I never thought that I would see the day that these two companies, these two systems would work together rather than working not against each other, but almost nearly in competition. I wanted to get to WWE. I remember some of my early days of auditioning for WWE. I was classified as like a TNA girl when I was auditioning the first time and I got rejected. I tried again and I said, well, I'm just going to go out and pay for my own resume reel. I'm going to act in different scenarios and show you what I can do on a basketball court, what I could do talking about pop culture, how I could be on a football field, how I could adapt in these environments that's not just professional wrestling. And that's what landed me the job. I paid $1,000 or $1,500 to make a resume reel, ended up getting my career because I had to show my work outside of just TNA to see how versatile I could be in the space. And so now being able to see this door open and see these dream matches being made and see the crossover, it's really cool. And it's also really gratifying and fulfilling as well to get to see this happen. Something that we dreamed of for so long. Now it's finally happening in front of your eyes.
It's awesome to see as a fan. I remember being young watching both companies and now seeing it as an adult and working together. I would have never expected this. So it's great to see that crossover and just being able to grow professional wrestling into what it is now.
Mm-hmm. And I think you have to give credit to the Mickie James and the Jordan Grace who kind of created this moment for, I think, the crossover. I think eyes were opened in that sense, but also I give a lot of credit to Carlos Silva, who's came in as the new president. I love working under Carlos. He's so intelligent and he's got such a cool plan for TNA. And so it's exciting for all the talent as well. Backstage, we all love Carlos. So I give a lot of credit to him that's kind of made this all happen.
Let's step outside of the ring. You're a thriving entrepreneur. You're the founder of Headline by MM, a jewelry line designed to express individuality and uniqueness. Also, your family has a history in jewelry that goes all the way back. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, my family's been in fine jewelry for 75 years. I'm 4 generations of women in jewelry. I always knew I wanted to do something in jewelry. I just didn't know what exactly. I didn't know how I wanted to make that happen. And I thought a lot about it and how I wanted to leave my legacy as well. And so about, I want to say 3-4 years ago, nearly, I just finally was like, let's do this. Let's figure out how I'm going to make this happen. I conceptualized the brand. I figured it out and then was like, let's make it happen. So started designing collections. My first collection was the Drippin' collection. That piece, that necklace is now on Trick Williams' action figure. You've seen it on Natalya. You've seen it on Seth Rollins, Chelsea Green, like the list goes down. And so my friends are supporting me in a big way. They were buying my products. People were really showing up and supporting me. So that was a really cool moment to be like, yeah, this is working. I'm designing pieces that not only carry on my family legacy, but they're my brain children coming to life. And then I'm getting to wear this on air. I'm creating pieces that I'm not finding in the store. So that was a really cool concept to me to be able to have this blend of perfect worlds of fashion and professional wrestling and watching it all come together. So it's still special. My store in Nashville, I have my pieces that I create and manufacture, but I also have vintage pieces, things that are classified from my family store as one of a kinds or have been around throughout the decades through different generations that I've reimagined and repurposed that my great grandfather and great grandmother sourced back in the 1950s. So it's a really cool connection for me, especially back to my family and create this legacy of my own in jewelry.
I love that. How did you come up with the name?
I thought a lot about it, actually. I think, and I always tell people this, if you're wanting to create a brand, I'm big on brand strategy in general. Like, I think that that's something that's so important. I should say brand strategy, branding, and who you are, whether it's a business, whether you're a person, whatever you want to create, have a plan for it and what you want to accomplish. accomplish with it, from the color palettes to the way it looks to the way that people are feeling when they're looking at your product or they're looking at you. I'm really big on that. So for me, it was a process of elimination. I put a couple names down in which I wanted to explore. I reached out to a trademark attorney and just wanted to make sure that the space wasn't really crowded of the names that I was looking for, because I wanted to trademark my name immediately. That was something that Matt Cardona told me. Obviously, he's an entrepreneur himself. And so he was like, the first thing I recommend in starting a brand is trademark your name, because the last thing you want is to get really deep down invested into this brand and then you get a cease and desist or something happens in that way. So originally my brand, I wanted it to be called Bravo by MM. And then I leaned in, that wasn't available. So then I leaned into Brava, like a female version of Bravo. That wasn't available. And then I went with Headline. And I thought this is the perfect way to combine my professional life and my personal life and make it all one. My slogan is, you are the headline, making everyone feel like they're the main character. They're the most important person in the room. And that was something that really stuck. So Headline by MM, it became.
I love that. And just the fact that you went through the process, I understand that completely. Being a business owner and entrepreneur as well, it's hard out here. You got to make sure that you have your specific ducks in a row before you really get things taking off, because you don't want things to turn out bad, especially if someone has your trademark already.
Exactly. And there were so many different ways. It was like, well, I don't want to create a name that people can't understand. I don't want to create a name that people don't really know how to say it, because then that's confusing. I don't want to create something that's hard to find on Google. Like, there were so many components that went along with finding a brand name. And now, like, a lot of people kind of drop the by MM, and that's fine because it makes it simple. It's Headline. I'm going to go to Headline. Or if you do want to create the story with it, it's Headline by MM. I'm the by MM portion and part of it. So it's really important to find something that works for you.
So I also went to school for journalism, and I sprinkled a little bit of PR in there as well. But did you take anything that you gained from going to Ole Miss in terms of journalism to incorporate into Headline?
To Headline, not necessarily. I think my journalism career all folded in together of getting a broadcast degree. It made a lot of sense for me as a journalist, as a broadcast journalist. Outside my work that I had as an MC, when we would do our final classes where you would paired with a partner and you'd have to go and report on a subject, and then one person would edit and one person would be in front of the camera, I was always the first to raise my hand and go, I will be in front of the camera. I am not an editor. I don't want to be on the backside of the editing, which worked out really well for a lot of my friends because they didn't want to be in front of the camera. They would rather edit on the backside. So I knew I was in the right profession for sure. But with Headline, I think I can really say, this is a note on Headline, it gives me an advantage to be able to step in front of the camera on social media today. In today's society, you have to be able to showcase your brand as the owner, not just like, I created this thing. You have to be the marketer. You have to be the voice and the face and all these things. So using my broadcast career, using my broadcast career, I'm able to make that transition with Headline as the face, the voice, the marketing, all of it, the full package, if you will, behind Headline.
Who have been some of your favorite people, both inside and outside of wrestling, to work with through Headline?
I have to mention Seth Rollins. We talked about him quite a bit, and I've told the story how I created his custom piece. It was such a shock that he believed in me enough to whatever I wanted to create, he was like, I'll rock it. I'll wear it on stage. However it will fit into my outfit. So I say back in WrestleMania, or I guess it would be before WrestleMania in March, I had sent him a message and said, hey, I'd love to create you a custom piece. Here's a few options I have. I sent him over my drawings, my original drawings of what that looked like. We went with the more safe bet of having just the custom logo on a big chunky Cuban chain. And then he started wearing it, and then he started wearing it more, and then he wore it again. And then he messaged me and was like, can we do a silver chain? Yes, absolutely. Can we do a longer gold chain? Yes, absolutely. I really want a matte black chain. So then I made him a matte black chain. And so he's said outspokenly that, to my husband, I should say, that it's kind of helped create his identity. And so that is one of my career highlights. To see him at SummerSlam, cash in his briefcase, and have that moment in the middle of the ring. The New York Times picked it up, you name it. Every outlet was taking the screen capture or a photo of Seth standing there, and all you saw was just him in black pants and this large necklace on his chest. that is a career high for me, 100%, because that's a photo that and a moment that people will remember forever. So I give a lot of credit to Seth. Roxanne Perez has been a day one client of mine. She has purchased my stuff time and time again. Her Prodigy necklace is my creation, my design. You've been seeing that on television, I don't know, going back to early NXT days. So I want to say that's probably been 3 years, 2 years that she and I designed that piece together, and it's still making an appearance on television. And then lastly is Trick Williams. I've made so many pieces for Trick. We talk about the drippin' necklace that's on him on his action figure, which is such a cool, also career high of mine to see that piece, its own little moment in the action figure that you can take it off and you can play with the necklace on its own. So those three have been really champions of my brand, and I'm so thankful for them.
Your entrepreneurial work has now led to adding another title to your resume, author. Your book, Threads of Triumph, Professional Wrestling's Most Iconic Looks, is set to release in April of 2026. Can you share what inspired you to write the book?
Totally. I have always had a love for fashion. Fashion and professional wrestling are two very different worlds that also seamlessly can blend together if you give it the right conversation and you give it the right moment to become a topic of conversation, I should say. And so I'd always recognized what people were wearing to the ring and how they were showing up and presenting themselves as superstars, how fans were connecting to professional wrestlers without them even having to open their mouth at all. And so there was an idea I had for quite a while, going back to my early days, like the first year of my time in WWE. I presented the idea. I wanted to make it a podcast. I wanted to make it a Snapchat show. I said, how about we do it a documentary style? I presented this in every way for them to kind of believe in this aspect and what this could be, of calling it Threads, talking about how this could come to life, and was denied and turned down several times. And so once I was released in 2023, I said, you know what? I'm going to try this on my own. I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to fund the project. I'm going to do all the production on my own and be the director, producer, script writer, handle my own guests. I'm going to do it all. I hired a couple people here in Orlando that worked with me really closely on this project. Long story short, I interviewed Natalya. We were talking about the Hart legacy, the Hart dynasty, going back to the pink and black of her family. And after we finished the interview, she was like, McKenzie, you have to turn this into a book. And I'm like, I don't know, Natty, how would I turn this into a book? And she was like, the way you worded these questions to me in the interview, it just made so much sense. And it really brought out a conversation. She was like, get a literary agent, shop it out, see what you can do. So I did just that. I wrote a 30-page book proposal, got a literary agent. We shopped it out. We got 4 offers in 2 weeks. So I knew that my idea was there. I knew that I had something that was golden. And really, it's been cool since announcing this book to see the conversation change. I'm getting so many comments from people being like, finally, we're having a conversation about this topic in professional wrestling. Finally, someone is recognizing that the way and what you wear and how you show up can tell a story just as much as a match can. And people feeling recognized and like heard for the first time. And that's something that I think is very hard to come by, especially in a sport of professional wrestling, where you're talking about everything, but no one is talking about the gear. And that was something in the flag that I was trying to raise for years. So to be able to see it all come together in this really beautiful coffee table book, it's been a work of art. It's been a lot of time and effort put into it, but it's been really exciting as well.
I've seen you hustling. I saw the clip that you put up. You're riding everywhere.
Everywhere. Planes, trains, boats, in my house, in my apartment, in my store, at my parents' house, at my grandmother's house that's 92, just to get some silence. Like, I mean, every opportunity I had to put my thoughts down on paper. And you have to imagine as well, I wanted to give every feature, every person that's in this book, like I wanted to do their career's work justice. I didn't want to just throw some things on paper and say like, here it is, and this is why it works. So I really thought deeply on why fans were connecting to said talent or whomever we're talking about, and why the look makes sense for who they are and what their career was. So I was writing literally everywhere, and I was editing till 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, several nights.
It's amazing to see though, because like you mentioned, you wanted this to be a television series at some point. You wanted it to be a podcast. Like you had all of these ideas, and to stay firm on that and continue on. That really is admirable. And I'm so excited to read the book. And I've seen so many comments from especially the women in the community. We love fashion. We love seeing fashion talked about. So to see another woman, especially someone like you who have a brand, you've been in the ring, you have this knowledge, I can't wait to read it. And I know everyone else can't either.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, as you mentioned, and we've kind of lightly talked about it, there is such a demographic for this that's wanting this. This book is not just for casual fans. It's for like kids who potentially want to be a professional wrestler, or it's their first day to get into professional wrestling and they're trying to soak in everything they can about this business. It's for future professional wrestlers that are in their teens, early 20s, who want to learn from the greats and want to understand why they wore the things they did and how they were putting this all together. But it's also for the day one fans as well, for the people that think that they know everything about their favorite wrestler. This gives inside baseball. So I've interviewed several of these professional wrestlers, legends, you name it, and talking about the style and how their look came to be, from NWO to Shawn Michaels to Mick Foley, giving you inside pieces that you literally, the stories have never been told. So it's really versatile. And it also is a book that can sit in your house, and a husband can really appreciate it because he loves the sport, and a wife also appreciates it because she's like, yeah, this is pretty, and it can sit on my coffee table. So it's a perfect blend, and a book for really everyone in professional wrestling.
As a fellow fashion lover, what are some of your favorite staple items when you're planning your own outfits?
Well, I'm wearing one today. I love a good blazer. I think if you have a good blazer that fits you well, that can be just tossed on, it just completes the look every day. Like today I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans and Birkenstocks, and then I throw on the blazer. It makes it feel pulled together and feels like it can be business casual. So I always have a blazer on hand, whether it's for a meeting, whether I'm just going to dinner. It just is versatile everywhere. And then also my jewelry. I think I created a whole brand on elevating your look with accessories. Obviously that means headline. How you accessorize your look really completes the look. You've seen it on social media where people are like, here's my basic outfit, here it is styled. Like people will do that comparison just to see how you can style and complete your looks. And so my everyday, like I have a silver stack and I have a gold stack of things that I'm wearing for my everyday look. And I think that really just completes and elevates an outfit totally.
What advice would you give to another woman looking to enter the world of wrestling, whether that's as a backstage correspondent, a ring announcer, or someone who's maybe looking to start their own business?
I think those all can be broken down into different categories, whether you're starting your own business or you're starting in professional wrestling or as a broadcaster. There's so many different ways I would complete all of those tasks individually. They all relate, but at the same time, they're all very different as well. Mm-hmm. But I think one common theme in all of it is just take as much information as you can. Don't always expect to be paid for every networking opportunity or every just opportunity to get your face in front of the camera or to learn from someone who has been there, done that, created their own brand and maybe exited 7 times. Like take every opportunity you can and just soak it in and really appreciate the art of learning.
Thank you so much, McKenzie, for joining me here on Wrestling Winedown. Where can the people keep up with you on social media and where can they pre-order your book?
Sure. I'm McKenzie Mitchell on Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it as well. Threads of Triumph, Professional Wrestling's Most Iconic Looks is available for pre-order everywhere. That means Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Indigo. There's a few other places as well that are in countries outside of the United States that you can go on and pre-order. We also have a designated pre-order link that I am doing signed copies as well. So that's in my link tree. It's all connected. We will have a website coming soon. So that's going to have a bunch of information holding everything about Threads of Triumph. So stay tuned for that. But Threads of Triumph, Professional Wrestling's Most Iconic Looks is available for pre-order everywhere.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling Winedown. You can find all of our other episodes available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. We are on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. We also have our official merch store, which you can find at shop.wrestlingwinedownlv.com. Let us know what you thought about this episode. What was your favorite part? Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!